Hey YouTubers, this is Jarret from fakeshemp.net and this is the December collection update. It's a little belated, I mean we're still in December, but typically I do these things midway through the month and right now we're at the end of the month. And that's just because December was a crazy month, as I imagine it was for everyone with work, Christmas approaching. I had to finish the final cut on my documentary Gone Lesbo Gone, The Untold Tale of an Unseen Film, in time for its January 8th world premiere at the Brisbane Underground Film Festival, so that ate away at a lot of time. But yeah, December was just chaos, and I guess it was a good thing that I held out on doing the video in that obviously Boxing Day brought about a certain amount of sales, including 20% off DVDs and Blu-rays at JB Hi-Fi, and I got a gift card for Christmas from my sister for JB, so I snagged a couple titles with that. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff I had my eye on, and now was the time. I had the money, and they were at a price that I could just not refuse. So that said, let's actually start with the imports. So first up, I'm going to show you Sleepaway Camp 2, Unhappy Campers, the sequel to Sleepaway Camp, although I did see Sleepaway Camp 2 first, in that the first film, Sleepaway Camp, was banned in Queensland when it came out on video, and Sleepaway Camp 2 came out on video, and I think it was probably an M from memory. So I actually saw them in that order, and the second one is a tongue-in-cheek type of sequel, really. It's quite a different film from the first. It's a low-budget, low-brow affair, but I've got a soft spot for it. It's a lot of fun. And the lead that plays Angela this time around is Pamela Springsteen, who's the boss, Bruce Springsteen's sister. Anyway, I saw Kevin from Cinematic Randomness. He's got a YouTube channel you should check out if you're not already watching it. And he did a video review on Part 2 and Part 3, and it just made me go, I need to get Part 2 and 3. And fortunately, they're both deleted in the US and in the UK, but I managed to pick up 2 and 3 for a really good deal through an Amazon UK e-seller. And it's got an abundance of special features on there as well, so it was definitely worth picking up. The only bummer was probably about 2 weeks after they arrived in the mail, Shout Factory or Scream Factory, their sort of horror label, announced that they're going to do both films on Blu-ray in 2015, but that's no biggie. I'll probably part with these soon after I've watched them again, and I'll pick up the Blu-rays when they're released, and this one's also got abundance of special features. I imagine they'll port them all over to the Scream Factory releases and put a bunch more on there as well. But yeah, they're both very fun films, and I think I picked them up for probably about $9 or $10 each. It was about $20 all up shipped from the UK, so no real hard feelings about that. Next up is an absolute classic. It's George A. Romero's Monkey Shines. I love this movie. I loved it when I saw it as a kid, when it came out in video. I think it was about 8 or 9, through the old RCA Columbia Pictures Hoyt's video label. And it's just a great film. In fact, there's Stanley Tucci in a very early role in this film. And I did remark to my partner, to my wife, I said to her, man, he was still bald. You know, did he ever have hair? But anyway, Monkey Shine's a great film, and Scream Factory have gone all out with the special features on this release. There's a documentary I've still yet to watch called Experiment Fear, which is basically a retrospective doc I'm really keen to check out, but there's an alternate ending, which is a bit tacky. There's some deleted scenes. There's some vintage behind-the-scenes footage shot by Tom Savini. There's a heap of content on this, and it's a great film. If you've never seen Monkey Shine, you should check it out. It's available locally on DVD through Shock, but I think it's a 4x3 transfer. So if you can play US Blu-rays, pick up this Region A release because it's amazing. And it really should have been one of their collector's edition series where they did alternate art as well, but I don't know why they didn't. It's got so much content on it, and it is a really underrated classic, and it proved that Romero was more than the Dead films, and a lot more than people gave him credit for, but I don't know, people just don't talk about Monkey Shines as much as they should. Next up is another import, another Scream Factory release, and it's Tales from the Crypt and Vault of Horror in a double pack. Watched Tales from the Crypt, the movie, probably only a year ago. I'd seen it before, but it was fairly recent, but I'm not sure that I've ever seen Vault of Horror. I'm thinking I may have actually seen it on late night TV broadcast, like recorded it off TV on VHS, but I'm not 100%, so I'm looking forward to revisiting that. And this Scream Factory release, which they actually held over for a bit of time because they found out the print they had for Vault of Horror was only like a theatrical or international theatrical release version. They didn't have like the uncut print that people had seen. I'm not sure which territory that version was released, but they held it over and managed to get a hold of the uncut print, and they've released it in a double pack. And I think that's it. I don't think there's any features on there, but look, the films speak for themselves. A lot of fun anthology horror, British anthology horror. Then there is Squirm, which is one of my all-time childhood classics. I love this movie. I can't believe that on IMDb it sits on a 4 point something. This film should be a lot higher than that. It's no masterpiece, but it is awesome. Jeff Lieberman, director of Just Before Dawn, Blue Sunshine, Satan's Little Helper. Squirm was probably it was definitely the first film I saw of his, and I saw it on TV broadcast when I was very young, probably about 4 or 5. And we actually have, I still have to this day, a VHS of that recording from TV, because I just watched it over and over growing up as a kid, and there's some really great commercials in between the broadcast of the film. But what a movie, Squirm. And I've already owned the Arrow release, but I picked up the Shout Factory because there's some extra content on here that's not on the Arrow release, including interviews with Jeff Lieberman, Acton, one of the actors from the film as well. And then there's a bit of a tour of locations, very short, like 7-minute piece, but yeah, I love Squirm. I can't get enough of it. So, and the newly commissioned artwork's pretty rad too, so yeah, I had to pick that up. Squirm, and on the inside it's got the reversible slit with the original poster art, which is just phenomenal. I love that art. Next up is another George A. Romero film from, well, this one was one that when Orion went bankrupt in the early 90s, was shelved for a point in time, and then finally came out, I think, in the US through MGM, and in Australia it came out through, I think it was Video Box Office. I think that was the name of the label, like a sub-label of, you know, RCA, Columbia Pictures, Hoyt at the time, or Sony, or whomever they were at that point in time. But The Dark Half's a pretty cool film with Timothy Hutton playing the lead, dual personality type of thriller about an author, but, you know, I'm not going to sit here and summarize the film for you. I haven't looked at the Blu-ray transfer yet to say, but I will say the Blu-ray transfer of Monkey Shines looks incredible. Again, a heap of special features on here. I can't wait to dig through, but I like this film. It's very cool. The only thing I probably would say works against the film is its duration. Could probably do with about maybe 15 minutes cut from it just to make it a little bit tighter, but The Dark Half, saw that in the movies when it came out during its, basically when they still released classic genre type movies in cinemas. And I saw this and I loved it. But yeah, The Dark Half. And again, I didn't watch this all that long ago. I think I watched it with my my wife and my mother-in-law probably about 2 years back. I took the DVD over and we sat down and watched it. It's based on a Stephen King novel as well. But The Dark Half. Okay, well that's actually it for the imports, I think, which is odd. Because normally there's a heap of imports, but this month, not so many. Okay, so I'll go to TV shows. This is the Trip box set that's been released locally. It features both the Trip and the Trip to Italy. It's got in it both of the TV series, and then it's got both of the movie versions of it, which were cut down to a movie length, to a feature length. The Trip's fantastic. The Trip to Italy was pretty good. I don't think you can do the Trip again, but they certainly tried, and I felt that's probably where it was a bit samey with the Trip to Italy, but yeah, it's still very good, and I love Steve Coogan. I like the art on the front with Steve Coogan and on the back Rob Brydon. But yeah, nice little release from Mad Men, which I'm happy to add to the collection because I don't own either the TV series or either of the movies. So yeah, it's a bit of a complete set. Next up is another TV show that I love called Arrested Development. Now, everyone knows the story. Netflix picked it up to make the 4th season that the fans have been hungry for, you know, God, I don't know how many years. I think it was at least 8 years between seasons. And, you know, there's some people that don't like season 4, but I dug it. It spent a bit long in the setup, but when it got there, it was great, and it was firing on all cylinders once again. Arrested Development season 4, and actually has all this special feature content, which is terrific, because I believe it's only been released in the US in early December, but we got it in about August. I just hadn't got around to picking it up, and it was on sale with the 20%. So, yeah, Arrested Development season 4. Next one is a TV show that I know a lot of people have already seen, but I've never watched it. I think I saw 1 or 2 episodes when it was first broadcast on Channel 9, but that was about as far as I got with it. And it's The Sopranos. People rate it as one of the best TV shows ever made. A lot of people say it's the best TV show ever made. I think it sits on like a 9.2 on IMDb, which is pretty good. And yeah, I've been meaning to get around to it. So the wife and I've started it recently, and we're almost, I think, about 3/4 the way through the first season. And hopefully by the end of the Christmas break, which for me is only really a week, I'm hoping to maybe be through the first and second season by that stage. But yeah, The Sopranos, and yeah, again, it was just a steal locally. I think I paid around about $100 for it with the current sale price less the 20% at JB. So yeah, it was totally worth it. Looking forward to checking it all out on Blu-ray. All right, next up, we're going to have a look at some more local releases, because they were both local releases. Next one up is The Search for Weng Weng, an incredible documentary about the Philippines James Bond, who in fact was a midget actor, Weng Weng. And it's a good friend of mine, Andrew Leafold, who made this film, and it's his basically personal crusade for a good amount of his years. I mean, the film itself was in production for about 7 years, but he's been a Weng Weng fan for God knows how long. And this is his personal journey to discover who was Weng Weng, what happened to Weng Weng, and it's an incredible documentary. Even if you don't have an interest in sort of B cinema or Filipino B cinema, it's just a good story, a good personal story about about a guy who essentially was really exploited to the biggest degree imaginable. Very touching, and you should check out the special features on there too. On disc 1, it's a big set too. It's 2-disc DVD, and then third disc is the score for the film, which in fact features the Screaming Meanies, who are from Brisbane and actually did quite a bit of score for Gone, Lesbo Gone, The Untold Tale of an Unseen Film. So it's great having the score there as well. But amongst the special features here, you've got the Sydney Underground Film Festival Q&A, which was shot and edited by yours truly. I had a short film playing at the festival, so Andrew and I caught up, and I shot that for him, cut it together, and it's edited up on the DVD, which is awesome. And on disc 2, if you do a little hunting around, you may find an Easter egg trailer for Gone, Lesbo Gone on there as well. I don't know if Andrew was actually aware of that, but it's very cool. So The Search for Weng Weng, definitely check it out. Absolutely check it out. It's in stores all across Australia right now. Great film. Next up is another great Aussie film. In fact, my favourite Australian film of the year, The Mule. And I just rave about this film anytime I have an opportunity to do it. It's the kind of film that just gives you restored faith in Australian cinema. It's period set in '83, and it nails it. It's smart, it's stylish, and it's everything that a lot of Australian films sadly aren't, but it's masterful. And Angus Sampson, who co-wrote the screenplay and co-directed the film, is the lead in the film, and he does an amazing job. It's a real breakout role for him, because I haven't seen him play something like this. Absolutely incredible. The screenplay is co-written by Lee Winnell, who most will know for his work with the Saw franchise, Insidious, and he's done an incredible job. He acts in it as well, and he's a bit of a breakout in this film. Hugo Weaving, terrific in it, as always. Really, really, really good film. I can't urge you enough to support the film. To jump on iTunes and download it from iTunes or Google Play or wherever you can get it from digitally, legitimately, please. And or go into a store and rent it out on DVD, Blu-ray, or buy it. It's a film that really deserves your support, and I guarantee you won't be disappointed. If you're disappointed, you should stop watching right now, because yeah, this is a great film. The Mule. Yeah, I can't say enough about it. Another great Aussie film that I saw recently is Healing, which again has Hugo Weaving in it. It's from the director of The Interview. Not The Interview, the one with Seth Rogen and James Franco, but The Interview from, I think, about the late 90s, probably about 98 or so from memory, with Tony Martin and Hugo Weaving. Incredible film. Healing's a really great film too. It's not pretentious. The artwork immediately on the front makes you think, is this going to be one of these wanky Australian art films? It's not. It's just a beautiful drama, and really about redemption, and I just was genuinely moved. Shot here in Victoria, as was The Mule, shot here in Victoria. I think it was shot in Hillsville, because Hillsville Sanctuary plays a pretty prominent part in the film. Definitely worth checking out. Yeah, really, really cool film. And Xavier Samuel from The Loved Ones is in it, and from Bait, and he's great. But yeah, I really like this film, Healing. Great drama. Next one up is another great Australian film. I've kind of done this in an order of great Aussie films. Another one of my favourite Aussie films from 2014 and 2013, because I played Monster Fest there, Chocolate Strawberry Vanilla. directed by Stuart Simpson and written by Addison Heath, with an incredible performance by Glenn Maynard. It is a great Aussie film. He's basically the taxi driver of ice cream vendors, and it's a retribution, I guess, type of film. You've got the redemption film that I mentioned before. This is really a retribution type film, and it's got a very dark humor about it. It is quite funny, and it's very intelligent, well written, and you should absolutely check this film out again. I can't urge you enough. This is a film that deserves your support and needs to be seen. It's available digitally to download legitimately, and it's also available on DVD and Blu-ray locally. Chocolate Strawberry Vanilla, check it out. Next one up is another Aussie film that I dug, called These Final Hours. It's got a bit of a post-apocalyptic feel to it, in that, I guess, in the way kind of the Rover does. Not the Rover. This, if you're thinking about seeing the Rover, see These Final Hours. This is a far more competent and far more entertaining and moving and beautiful film than the Rover, which was just not a good film in my opinion. These Final Hours, really, really cool film. Nathan Phillips in it also, which you may remember him from Wolf Creek, the first Wolf Creek film. The only disappointing thing is, for a local release of a pretty well-revered Australian film, it has no special feature content, which blows my mind. Like, why? Why is that? Surely there's got to be special feature content out there, and why couldn't they get the director to record an audio commentary? I don't know. I'm not blaming the filmmakers. I'm not blaming the label. It's just a shame that they've had a lot of time to prepare this release, and unfortunately it doesn't have any extra content on it, and I love extra content. But These Final Hours, a really cool Australian film that you should check out. Moving and disturbing, These Final Hours. Next up, because it doesn't really have a place in the order I've structured things, it's not Australian, and it's not really a genre film. It's The Double, which it's just a very, very different, quite a surreal drama, black comedy, maybe a bit of thriller. It's just, yeah, it's a very different film, and well deserving of your attention. I didn't hear enough people talk about this film this last year. The director, Richard, I can't pronounce his surname, Moss from the IT crowd, Richard Ayoade, I don't know how it's pronounced. I didn't like his first film, Submarine. I thought it was a little bit pretentious and a bit Wes Anderson-y, and I love Wes Anderson, don't get me wrong, but I hate it when people try to do something in that kind of universe and they just can't, because Wes owns that. But The Double is a really, really cool film that you should check out. It's in my top 10 films of 2014. Chris O'Dowd pops up in it, Jesse Eisenberg, and what's her name, Mia Wasikowski? I don't know. I'm terrible with pronouncing unusual surnames, but The Double, really cool film. Okay, so moving on to genre, Blu-rays and whatnot. First up is Deliver Us From Evil, which is the new film from the director of Sinister, and he also directed The Exorcism of Emily Rose. I wasn't so huge on Exorcism of Emily Rose, but I love Sinister. I thought it was fantastic. Deliver Us From Evil, though, I thought was just overly long and painfully dark lit. I know that's what the filmmakers were going for, and they wanted to create this sort of very dark and grim sort of palette to the film, but it was so hard to see. We had to shut all the blinds, we had to watch it at night with no lights on whatsoever, and then even then I had to strain to see what was going on at points in time. But yeah, I didn't really dig it. Like, it was okay, but yeah, it was underwhelming, and the quote on the front, genuinely scary. And I don't think I even got one jump scare out of this. I didn't find it scary at all. Whereas Sinister at least had some really solid jump scares and suspense. But yeah, Deliver Us From Evil wasn't for me, and I'll probably be getting rid of that one, unfortunately. As Above, So Below. This is one I'd kind of consider a guilty pleasure, to be honest. I caught it at the movies with the wife while we were on our honeymoon in the US, because it didn't get a theatrical release here in Australia. And I think the Australian Blu-ray release was actually ahead of the US. But it's a found footage film, but it's a good found footage film that doesn't involve teenagers. It's a horror film that's not teen orientated, which I immediately have a lot of respect for. And yeah, I'm not a huge fan of found footage films, but this was effective. It definitely needed more suspense and a few more jump scares to be successful. But I think I've got a bit of a soft spot for it, given that, you know, we saw it on the honeymoon and it was fun, and the wife was like generally clinging to my arm during the movie. So those kind of memories stay with you. But as Above, So Below, you know, a fun watch. You know, you should check it out. It's fun. Okay, next up, another horror, which This doesn't make my top 10 of 2014, but, you know, I really like this. It was almost there, but there was just too many good films, I think, in 2014 for this to make it in there. As with the first film, there's definitely stronger stories, but the beautiful thing about the sequel is there's far more consistency with stories. There's far more entertaining stories in the second film than the first, and they have a good idea of duration. They're on screen for only as long as they should be. Nothing really feels like it overstays its welcome. There was only one really weak story in it, P's for Scary, which was rubbish, and I think Glenn Cochran, who hosts the Fake Shep podcast with me, and, you know, the head of Fake Shep, I think he was in agreement in that that was a terrible short amongst it. But I think my opinion of this film is slightly higher than his. But the best of the films, in my opinion, is the first. A is for Amateur, which is directed by the director whose name I'm not remembering right now. It's going to come back to me, but it's the director of my favourite film of 2013, Cheap Thrills. ABC's of Death too. Yeah, pretty cool. There's some pretty cool stories in there. Julian Barrett directed actually the second story in it, B is for Badger. But there's some really cool stories, and yeah, it felt good, and it wasn't as the stories themselves weren't overstaying their welcome, but the film didn't either. The film ran for, I think, roughly maybe about 2 hours, whereas the first one I think was about 2.5 hours from memory, or at least it felt like it. But ABC's of Death too, really cool. Next one up is one I haven't got to watch yet, Wolf Cop. Heard a lot of good things about it. I've got it here, looking forward to watching it. I know it was one of those kind of films that everyone, you know, was talking about leading up to Cannes. You know, the artwork came out, it looked killer, cool concept. And yeah, I've seen a lot of people, you know, talk the film up, so I'm looking forward to checking it out. Wolf Cop. Next one up is Zombievers, which, again, I think a lot of people have been giving some pretty genuine praise to. Looks like a lot of fun. I mean, a film called Zombievers to begin with, that's points. And when you've got a tagline like, "You'll all be damned," yeah, that just speaks volumes. The thing that intrigues me about this film is the R classification on it right here. You have an R classification that reads high impact sexualized nudity. For an R-rated film to say high impact sexualized nudity, that's got to be some nudity with genuine, you know, resonating impact. That's going to stay with you. So yeah, I'm kind of keen to see how that pans out. I do like the fact that it says from the producers of American Pie, Cabin Fever, and The Ring. Strange. But anyway, Zombievers, looking forward to checking that one out. I haven't been able to force the wife to watch it yet. I might have to watch it alone. Next one up is one that's topped a lot of critics' lists for, you know, best horror films 2014, even if it's, you know, quasi-horror. Jim Jarmusch's Only Lovers Left Alive with Tilda Swinton, Tom Hiddleston, and that Mia Wasikowski. I think that's how it's pronounced, John Hurt. I'm looking forward to checking it out. I don't know anyone personally that's seen it as to what they thought of it, but yeah, it has turned up on a lot of critics' lists, so I'm looking forward to checking out and making up an opinion for myself. Foreign genre, Gunwoman, out through Monster Pictures. Heard it was pretty cool, so I'm looking forward to checking that out. Kind of seems like it falls within that kind of J-horror kind of, you know, really extreme, over-the-top kind of gore stuff. Yeah, it should be cool. It does sound a little bit... I think this is definitely one I have to watch without the wife, because it does sound like something maybe that she's going to feel a little uncomfortable watching. I don't know what to make of this one, to be honest. I got given this one. Any film that has like a thing on the cover that says over 30 million trailer views makes me think, yeah, a lot of people watch the trailer, but what about the movie? The film's been out for a number of years. I think it came out in about 2012 from memory. I saw the trailer on YouTube myself. Yeah, I don't know. I'll be curious. I hope it's awesome, but I do have my reservations about this film. Next one up is one called Lightning Bug, which is a total blind buy. I read it and I really liked the premise of what it was about. I think it was about a boy who's a mask maker, and then from memory, I think he has trouble differentiating fantasy from reality, or maybe I'm just imagining that's the case. Anyway, I'm looking forward to checking this one out. Funnily enough, I think it was produced a number of years ago. I think it might even come out or be made in 2004, and it's only had a release like a decade later. So that's always worrying. But you know, these films sometimes get caught in all number of licensing and unusual predicaments that prevent them from being released sooner. I don't know about the must-see with 3 exclamation marks after it quoted by IMDb. It's like, who quoted that on IMDb? Was that a user review? Was that the guy that made the film? Was that his mum? Who knows? Lightning Bug, looking forward to having a look at that one. Next up is a bunch of action sci-fi type of movies, I guess. First up is Lucy, which I heard some pretty good things about. Most of the things I heard were 3/4 good. There was only about a quarter negative backlash, but for the most part I heard really good things about it. It's Luc Besson, he directs some great films. And yeah, we watched it the other night and I was pretty underwhelmed, to be honest. I thought for the most part it looked pretty good, but at the end of the film it just felt like an extended music video. The story just felt a little bit dumbed down, and yeah, and felt like it lacked a lot of story. Some of the action set pieces were incredible, but that doesn't make a movie. I was a bit underwhelmed. I'm a bit on the fence about it. It's one of those kind of films that I feel like I probably should watch again. But yeah, I was a little underwhelmed. And the weirdest thing was the film kind of, look, I don't want to spoil anything, actually. I'm not even going to say that. So Lucy, yeah, you know, yeah, it was good, but it wasn't great. Next up is an action film that I haven't seen yet. Came out when we were on the honeymoon. Actually came out in the States and locally, but didn't get around to seeing it. Heard really mixed things about this, to be honest, but Expendables 3, I'm hoping that the extended cut that's on the Blu-ray is going to be better than the theatrical version that people were a bit, you know, a bit blah blah about. Anyway, the Expendables 3, looking forward to seeing that. Next up is Snowpiercer, another film that I'd heard incredible things about, and then I was hanging to watch it on Blu-ray, and I watched it and I was just a bit like, really? Okay. It felt, again, it had like this incredible concept, but the actual film itself, it felt like the script wasn't quite there. The concept was strong, the action was great, but it just felt like the story just didn't quite get there. From the director who did The Host and Mother, but big cast, and I think Tilda Swinton was incredible in it. She was really, really good. She's the kind of actress that you love to hate. She just plays those villainous characters so well. But Snowpiercer, yeah, I was a little bit underwhelmed. I'm definitely going to hold on to it because it will command a second viewing for me. Next up is Guardians of the Galaxy, which I saw at the movies and absolutely loved. I thought it was great. I'm not a huge fan of all these Marvel, DC, comic book adaptations that are coming out at the moment. I've kind of been left behind. I haven't caught up with either of the Thor films, and I haven't seen, what else haven't I seen? The last Captain America film. I'll get there sooner or later, but it's just a bit of superhero blockbuster fatigue, to be honest. But Guardians of the Galaxy is one of those ones that I did check out based on the fact that it was written and directed, or written for the screen to screenplay by James Gunn and directed by James Gunn. And, you know, he's done some terrific stuff in his time. I'm a huge fan of Slither. And yeah, so I thought I better buy this on Blu-ray, and the wife's unhappy I saw it without her, but now it's on Blu-ray, it's great, and it's a really, really cool steelbook, which is modeled as like the cassette player that the lead character has in the film. So yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy. Next up, film I don't know a lot about, but heard some really good raves about. It's from the producers of Raid and Raid 2, but they may have produced a whole bunch of Indonesian rom-coms for all I know. But yeah, I've heard really strong things about this film, so I'm looking forward to checking it out. Killers. Indonesian, Japanese. Okay, so yeah, it's a multiple language film. Leads me to Raid 2, which is in my top 10 films of 2014. In fact, this was number 1 on my 2014 list for a while there, but got beat out. So it's not number 1, but it's very much up there. Raid 2 is incredible. How do you better a film like The Raid, just the most intense action movie of the last decade? Well, you inject it with a bunch of story and create like this whole universe. And that's what they did. They basically took The Raid and turned it into The Godfather, and they did it so well. And they didn't, you know, overwhelm it with too much story. They still had amazing action set pieces, including this incredible fight sequence all within a car that I've just never seen anything like it. The Raid 2 was just a fantastic film through and through, and I can't wait to see a third installment in what is now a franchise, The Raid. What a film. Next up is an animated series called Rick and Morty, which is basically a kid and his grandfather that kind of go time traveling and a number of other things. It's got a very sort of loose Back to the Future type of vibe about it. It's pretty damn funny. A friend introduced me to it, and yeah, I watched the first couple episodes, loved it, so I picked up the Blu-ray. Looking forward to checking the rest of the series out. Now we're going to move on to reissues. I think the bulk of these, I think they're actually all local release reissues. Well, not even reissues, what should I say? Maybe even first time to Blu-ray type of releases, but all films that have been out for a number of years. First up is Manhunter, which has been released locally on Blu-ray. It has the theatrical and the director's cut of the film. Obviously the Michael Mann picture. Very cool. I still like Silence of the Lambs, but I know there's people that like this better in the whole kind of Hannibal universe, but no, I'm definitely a Silence of the Lambs fan, but I did enjoy this more than Red Dragon, and I never saw Hannibal Rising. Oh, and definitely more than bloody Hannibal, Ridley Scott's Hannibal. I did not like that at all. But Manhunter, that's out now, so you should check that out. Catherine Bigelow's K-19, The Widowmaker, very cool film with Harrison Ford and Liam Neeson. Catherine Bigelow, such an incredible filmmaker, and this is a really great film. So keen to check this out for the first time on Blu-ray. Next up is James Dean film, East of Eden, which kind of rounds out my James Dean collection. He only really made 3 feature films: Rebel Without a Cause, Giant, and East of Eden. And East of Eden's that one that I hadn't got yet. I did have it on order, and the order was lost, and then reordered, and then they cancelled it. And anyway, I picked it up recently, so it rounds out the James Dean collection. Really keen to watch all 3 films again soon, because I haven't watched any of them since I've picked them up on Blu-ray. East of Eden. Next one up is kind of one I got as a gift, and it's not the one I was after, which is a shame. I wanted the recent extended edition release of Sergio Leone's Once Upon a Time in America, but instead I've got the theatrical, which isn't that bad, because I have the theatrical and DVD split across 2 discs. This is the Blu-ray with the film on 1 disc, plus all the special features ported over from the DVD, which is good, and I'll probably pick up the extended edition anyway, because the way it's available locally is you only get the extended edition, you don't get the theatrical. So if I end up hating the extended edition, which I highly doubt I will, at least I can go back and watch the theatrical. So yeah, I'll definitely hold on to it. Once Upon a Time in America. Next one is, I guess, a bit of a guilty pleasure. City of Angels with Nicolas Cage and Meg Ryan, remake of foreign film Wings of Desire, and yeah, it's like the most Hollywood remake you could imagine, but it's fun and it's heartfelt, and I'm not a big fan of Meg Ryan. In fact, I really don't like her much these days at all, but I really did dig this film. It's got the Goo Goo Dolls song in it, which I have a soft spot for, Iris. Yeah, it's ported over all the special features from the DVD. Yeah, you know, you're gonna love it, or you're gonna hate it, I imagine. City of Angels. Again, I'm not a massive anime fan, but Ninja Scroll sits up there with Akira and Wicked City as some of the best anime I've ever seen. And, you know, I did like anime for a point in time when I was quite young, before the market was just, local market was flooded, completely saturated with anime. But Ninja Scroll is one of those ones that I've just always dug. And Mad Men's put it out on Blu-ray remastered, and I believe the print they've got is completely uncut too, which is awesome. Ninja Scroll. Fright Night on Blu-ray, the local release. I sold off my Twilight Time release earlier in the year because I knew this was coming out, and I got like a ridiculous amount of money for it, and I picked up the local version. Sadly, the local version is just a Dolby Digital 5.1 track, not a lossless audio track on there. But of course, the minute I buy this, the announcement comes out about the Fright Night 30th anniversary edition coming out through Twilight Time in January, which I'll buy. So yeah, it's a bit of a bummer, but yeah, you know, in case I want to watch it between now and the January release, at least I've got it on Blu-ray. Next one up is a film admittedly I've never seen called The Right Stuff. It's based on a book by, I think, Thomas Wolfe. I think that's the name of the author. Oh, sorry, Tom Wolfe. Tom Wolfe wrote The Bonfires of the Vanities, the book, which was a huge bestseller, as was this as a book. And I've got that real soft spot for The Bonfires of the Vanities movie, directed by Brian De Palma. But this is a film I've always heard a lot about and I've never seen. It's a really cool edition that's come out for it, The Right Stuff, so I'm looking forward to checking out. The only thing is I'm going to need 193 minutes to do so because it is a long movie. Next up are just like 2 Dodgers that I picked up super cheap that I've never seen either of them, to be honest, but they're both from Full Moon, and they've been released locally through Big Sky Video, and that's The Vampire Journals. Yeah, I don't really know anything about this, and it was made well before The Vampire Diaries, so it's just unusual. They kind of got that in common title-wise, but anyway, Vampire Journals should be interesting. Probably be shit, but you know. And then Dark Angel: The Ascent, which I never saw, but I used to see at the video store on VHS, and it used to pop up in Fangoria back in the day, in advertisements for Full Moon stuff. Great cover art. I don't know what the film's going to be like, but you know, I'm curious to check it out. So that's all the movies that I have picked up in this last month and a bit. But last thing, kind of movie, well, definitely movie related, but not a movie, is this pretty cool toy that I received as a Christmas gift. One of my Christmas gifts from my sister. It's made by a brand called Funko, and they have a reaction series, which is kind of classic movies that they've made into toys. And in this instance, obviously Freddy Krueger from Nightmare on Elm Street. And the whole packaging is really sweet. They do it up like kind of like the old school Kenner Star Wars toys from the 80s. And there's other ones in the series to collect. And it's one of those kind of things that I've looked at buying these a few times because I've seen them pop up on Zavvi. And I just haven't committed to it because it's one of those things that, you know, if you start, you might end up collecting them all. And that said, now I've got Freddy. I'm probably thinking about getting Michael and Jason. But I don't know if I want to actually take him out of the box. The box is just so awesome that I may actually just display it somewhere, not at home, because the wife will not approve of that. So probably at the office. But yeah, so that's the December collection update, which is no doubt gone for almost half an hour. It feels like it. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back in January with the January collection update, which I imagine will be significantly smaller, because I have nothing really on pre-order at the moment from overseas, and I've got pretty much everything I want locally at this stage. There's only a couple new releases that have come out recently that I know I'll pick up. But yeah, I'm still waiting on Nightbreed to arrive from Canada, and that's been a source of much frustration with Amazon Canada. But they've kind of come to the party, and it looks like they've organised a copy from an e-seller for me for the price that I paid. So at least they're kind of coming good on their word, even if I do receive it almost 3.5 months after its official release date. But yeah, so thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in January.